Music. Where would most of us be without it? It's there with us from start to finish.
It's purpose of life.
Some of you may play music or simply love listening to those special tunes that feel like mirrors to our very soul.
This is the power of music. It's the power of sound. You can get this from a group of 5-year-olds or 95-year-olds.
I'm Howard Timberlake, a video journalist with the BBC, a musician, songwriter, and a fervent music lover. I wanted to look at the whole record of our relationship with music throughout our lives, how it helps create who we are, saves us, inspires us, and can form lasting memories. This is a tribute, a distillation of what is utterly amazing about this magical shared language, what keeps us alive, and what we live for. We are music, and this is our story.
And it all starts with a beat. It could be the beginning of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, Teardrop by Massive Attack, or Follow Me by Muse. It is, of course, the human heartbeat, and you've known it much longer than you think. Like Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys, it's remarkably influential.
So before children are born, the last trimester, their hearing system is operational. The heartbeat is quite loud for the infant. It's one of the most salient auditory stimuli that they're hearing. But interestingly, they're also exposed to movement.
We have done experiments, listening experiments with newborn babies, and they're already sensitive to the rhythm. They recognize whether a rhythm is regular or not.
So when the mother moves, so when the mother walks, and she may walk rhythmically, then the infant is exposed to that movement. The infant is actually getting a very rich multi-sensory experience before birth.
They can remember melodies. They can distinguish these melodies from melodies that they have never heard when they're just born, even when they were in the womb. Suggesting that this musical sensitivity is apparently important biologically for some reason. German babies cry differently than French babies. So they're just born, day 1, day 2, and they cry in a different way. And the explanation for that is that they pick up the intonation patterns of the language of their parents. So they hear their parents talking German all day long, which is like this, the intonation pattern goes downward. And French babies hear their French parents talking all day long, and so they imitate that in their crying, because they pick up these intonation patterns, which are melodies. They have no sense of language yet.
It's a multisensory phenomenon. So people get a lot out of concerts when they see the visuals of the concert, but they also get a lot out of concerts when they see the movements of the performers. And in fact, in many cultures, there aren't different words for music and dance. So it's all part of the same thing.
Professor Henk-Jan Honing researches musicality, the essence of what makes humans intrinsically musical. It begins with 2 fundamentals.
One is relative pitch, which is that you can recognize a melody, like a Christmas song, for instance. You recognize it even if it's played higher or lower, you recognize the song. Even if you play it faster or slower, you recognize that it is that particular song. And that turns out to be an essential talent of us, of our brains, of our perception, of listening and enjoying music. And the other one is even more fundamental, I would say. It is called beat perception. Without being able to pick up this regularity, you can't make music together with somebody else. You can't dance with somebody else. You have to pick up this regularity.
So when you just listen to an auditory rhythm, in fact, it activates areas of the brain that have to do with motor planning. And in fact, these areas are constantly communicating back and forth.
That's why it's extremely difficult not to boogie or headbang along to your favourite tunes. Whether it's hip-hop, rock, rap, funk, jazz, dance, trance, or pirate metal, it's a natural instinct to throw some serious shapes. With speech or music, timing is critical. Our movements are planned, controlled, and executed by our brain's motor cortex. But that ability is only part of our evolutionary path to musicality. Early organisms on Earth first had that basic need to move around.
But even if you take a very simple organism, say like a jellyfish, that has very few neurons, in fact, it executes exquisite rhythmic movement. So we think now that the auditory system when it developed, used the rhythmic capabilities of the motor system in order to do timing.
If we're born to be musical, is there an ideal genre of music that aids baby development? Research says no. Different cultures around the world sing and play to their babies in differing styles and systems, but there's no evidence to suggest that certain types of music, or even certain artists, will boost their brain. But there is a caveat.
What we do know, however, is that whatever the infant is exposed to, their brain will become wired to be specialized at processing that kind of music. And in fact, you'll get worse, the baby will get worse at processing music that they're not exposed to.
So just as you should feed your baby with a varied and nutritious diet, you should also feed their ears with everything from Queen and John Coltrane to Bhangra and Mongolian throat singing. It'll blow their mind, while feeding their brain hungry for musical culture. And let's finish with a dance, shall we? Lullabies and play songs have become moments many of us remember from our infancy. They're one of the oldest forms of teaching young children, and this interaction between child and parent is something special. These are actually key moments in a child's early years, and it's not just about the parent singing to the infant.
The infant is also influencing the parent. So when the infant cries, that tells the parent that they're not happy with what the parent is doing. The infant can use much more subtle cues as well. And those adjustments, so the infant knowing that the parent is going to respond to their cues, is really important for development.
In the next episode of Rhythm of Life, we look at music's incredible effect on our emotions and mental health.
And it's like it changed everything, because for the first time there was something in Technicolor in my life that was safe and it was just mine, and it felt like the invisibility cloak in Harry Potter.